Happy New Year, Jim. Well, not yet. If I'm
Right.
not mistaken, which I've been mistaken before, but this will come out the day before New Year's Eve.
Yes. And so, therefore, Happy New Year to you as well, Andrew, tomorrow in the future, because of course we're recording this before that day.
It's been great. It's been great. Man, we've probably done 52 episodes this year because we try to release one every week,
hmm
but I don't really remember the specifics. And it kind of astounds me a couple of things. Number one, how your hairstyle change in just the span of a year, both, facial hair and hair itself. I'm looking at you got, wow, 10 months ago, just standard nice guy comb over. We've been through a lot, but that changes. But also, I'm surprised to think about all the episodes we've done, and I'm not sure I remember all them. So, what we did last year, we did a quick review. And by the way, these episodes might be a good thing to listen to. Maybe you're just catching up with our podcast now, and there's a lot of episodes in the backlog.
Mm.
Maybe us discussing these will be like, oh, I'm interested in that topic and that topic. And what we'll do is we will reference the episode number
hmm
so that maybe if you go back to some of these topics that interest you, you'll be able to find them and check out those conversations.
That is a good idea. That's a good practical reason to have an episode like this. That's a good point.
For sure.
I feel
Absolutely.
like
I mean, we sometimes feel like maybe there's only two people in the world that care about this topic.
yeah, it might be a little bit self-serving.
But hey, you know, what can you do? It'll be nice to reminisce about where we've been.
I do think in general this kind of exercise is really useful to me personally, not just in the context of this podcast, but end of another year, I think it's probably on a lot of our minds, like where does the time go? Time
Yeah.
whizzes by so quickly, and having any kind of marker of what happened on a given day or in a given week, that kind of thing, and to go look back, I think can be, at least for me, helps keep the panic down a little bit when I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, my kids are growing up so fast, and then I can go back and be like, oh, remember when we did this? Remember when we did this? Oh, it's been
Yeah.
a good year.
Absolutely. Well, without further ado, Jim, Dojo Conversations episode 55 is titled Can Rest Be Productive? I don't know if I have
Yeah.
any memory of that episode at all.
I'm trying to think. I think if I try to dig it up in my mind, I think that the impetus for that one was something like, here we are in the off season, because it was in the
Yeah.
winter.
Hmm.
And being aware that so often after the off season, getting back into it in say March, April, like that first St. Patrick's Day parade, right, is often difficult. And so it's
Hmm.
like, am I wasting time by not playing as much as I could be? Or is there a way to make this productive rest? I think that maybe was the angle we were going for there.
For sure. Yeah. Well, we also had the recent episode about daily action. So, how do you
Mm,
balance your desire for productive rest with the premise of daily action?
hmm
Yeah. Can you still keep a tune going on a regular basis? Maybe just a quick little tune on the pipes each day, but
hmm
otherwise kind of take a rest from piping? Like maybe you could do both. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that was episode 55.
Mm,
Seeing as that we have 50 of these to get through, we should move on. How to
yeah.
simplify tunes. Dojo Conversations episode 56.
That one I remember very clearly because I think it holds the record at present for the longest edit so far. Just
Oh, it
because
took a long
pulling in
time.
the Muse score image and like trying to keep that synced up with where we were talking, because there was a lot of fast forwarding in that episode because we were
Yeah.
doing it live.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that one very clearly.
In that episode, we break down a tune and I show you on the page, so to
Mhm.
speak, how to break down a tune so you can simplify it to its simple rhythmic components, and then we build up back towards the fully embellished.
It was Bonnie Ann, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And that
Otherwise
is
known as the correct way to learn a tune, Jim.
Yeah, and that's me being turned into a believer. I didn't used to think this was a good thing, and I'm now thoroughly convinced. And I did hear from a few people on that episode. I'm happy to say that going through that process with you, Andrew, was useful to more people than just me. So
Good.
that makes me happy.
Yeah, when you sit down and you force people to painstakingly do the rhythm. By the way, it's not that painstaking. A lot of people experience pure joy when they discover that the roots of this tune is something they can absolutely handle
Yeah.
with ease.
Yeah.
That's fun. It's fun to tick off the easy bits and get
hmm
comfortable with the rhythm. You can't really explain this to people ahead of time, but what happens after you're clear on the rhythm And now you try the simple notes of the tune. No embellishments yet, but now you just try the simple notes of the tune. You've already had a good look at the rhythm. Suddenly, the basic notes of the tune come out smooth and relatively easy.
Mm-hmm.
People are like, what? Then all you have to do from there is sprinkle in your favorite embellishments, hopefully
Mm-hmm.
one at a time.
It makes me happy that we used the tune Bonnie Ann for that one, just because, and maybe that was on purpose on your part. Maybe it was a happy accident, just because it's
No,
one of those catchy tunes that's also
extremely hard.
very difficult. Yeah. And so making that feel like it's within reach that was a good idea there. I love that.
Yeah. Episode 57. What's the real cost of bagpiping?
Oh,
I
yeah.
remember this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. We talked about how one of the things I like to say is a lot of people think a chanter reed is approximately $20. That's not
Mhm.
true. A chanter reed is approximately $120 because generally speaking, you have to order 6 reeds to get that one reed that you really love. And so you have to kind of calculate that all in. Drone reeds, on the other hand, a set of easy drone reeds, a lot of people think they're approximately $100, but they're not. They're approximately $20 a year.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
because they last for 5 years.
Or 20,
Uh,
depending on
yeah,
who you are.
well, yeah, probably not a whole lot more than 5, but maybe, you never know. They might still keep going. So those are really inexpensive, even though the price tag might seem a little bit greater.
Mhm.
And so on and so forth. What's the real cost? What are the things that we're really spending money on it? And I feel like sometimes you can miss the forest for the trees there. Yeah.
And that's part of why, like, so many of us gig is we have to think to ourselves, we do this math where we go, okay, my piping habit is costing me on average this many dollars per month. So how many funerals or weddings do I need to play just to break even? Like just to
Yeah,
cover this. I often
totally.
tell people bagpiping, if you gig enough, is a expensive hobby that almost pays for itself.
Yeah. What's the real cost? Exactly. Well,
Mm.
and I don't think we discussed mileage to band practice and yeah,
Mm.
and to and from the other gigs and stuff. But yeah, you can kind of calculate it out. And actually, piping is probably fairly inexpensive relative to other hobbies that people choose to partake in.
Mm.
For example, playing golf, I think is probably a lot more expensive than playing the pipes.
Yeah. And it's hard
Probably.
to it's probably way harder to get a golf related gig where you get a little money back compared to
Yeah,
pipes.
yeah, exactly. Next one, episode 58. How can you
Mhm.
free up your piping bandwidth?
I
You
might go
know?
back and listen to this one because I don't remember how to do that, and it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. Well, I think we're talking about reaching unconscious competence with
Uh,
some of the key bagpiping skills.
mm,
And we want that competence to be unconscious. Like we want to be able to play perfectly accurately to the beat without having to apply a lot of effort and a lot of thought. We want to be able to do that well on autopilot because that frees up your mind to focus on the other things that are more important. And I think one of the reasons the best pipers in the world are the best is because when they're performing, they're not thinking about surging on the high A or
yeah.
the fact that they have to fix their rhythm or I don't know what else. I do know what else actually. I know all of them, but
Even just
I'm just
keeping
too
up with
lazy.
blowing into the bag.
Exactly, blowing and squeezing, and we're not
Mhm.
thinking about these things or how to go from C to E without a crossing noise. It's just happening kind of on autopilot, and it allows us to take all that bandwidth in our brain, right? There's only so much you can hold in there at any given time.
Mhm.
So hopefully you're holding thoughts about beautiful expression and creativity and, nuance and style.
Mhm.
Hopefully you're able to do all that, but in order to do that, you're going to have to free up some processing power, some random access memory, as it
Mhm.
were. The big one there is like when you wanted to watch Netflix. Remember how you used to have to ask everyone else in the house to get off the internet?
Yeah.
That's bandwidth, right? In order to do the movie, you had to do it. Now, routers and Wi-Fi speeds and all that kind of stuff have since evolved and upgraded and become much smoother. And now that's not an issue anymore,
Mhm.
right? But you can kind of think of your brain as like an old school Netflix situation.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you have too many other devices on the network, you're not going to be able to watch Netflix.
I don't want my piping to come out pixelated and have to buffer periodically. I want it to be smooth. I want it to be crisp.
Yeah, exactly. And then is your piping performance the equivalent of Netflix in the old days where it's just like 10 pixels and you can't really tell
Mm.
what's going on at all?
Right.
Yes, exactly, sir.
Mhm.
Ooh, this one, I don't know if I can remember this. All I remember about this is I got a mean TikTok comment
I was gonna say the same
hating on
thing.
my Black Watch flannel,
They did
which I
not
haven't
like your
had the
shirt.
courage to wear since. Yeah, she did not like it. But this one was called, "Do you own or rent your piping skills?"
Those mean internet girls got you to put the Black Watch shirt away. I
Yeah.
don't get it, man. That's a great tartan. I don't
No.
understand why anybody would
No,
dislike
I don't
that.
think I've put it away. I still have it. I still wear it.
Just
Maybe
not to
there's
the
even another.
podcast.
It was a nice warm shirt, okay? Jeez.
So was the idea of renting your piping skills basically that, like, if you don't keep it up, you lose it?
No, that couldn't have been it. Is there a summary in the video? Here, I'll
Maybe
try
I'll
and
go
open the
back and
video.
listen to this one too. Was I there for that one?
Oh, I see. Do you want to sound just like your favorite pipers? Maybe we all do to start with. But after a while, most pipers realize that true satisfaction comes from being able to create any musical ideas or interpretations that you want to, not just mimicking or copying others. So I think that's probably an episode about developing your own unique creative voice.
Yeah, gotcha.
By the way, I think mimicking it is an act of creativity, right?
Yeah.
Like when you say a child is mimicking their parent, right? It's not really true. You're not giving us all the information here. For example, Jim is scratching his arm right now.
Mhm.
And Jim's children are probably really, I mean, unless it happens all the time or something, they're not going to choose to mimic that behavior, are they?
Mm.
What behaviors they realize are important behaviors,
Mhm.
those are the ones that they've selected to mimic. So that is a creative, conjectural, unique idea. So mimicry
Mm.
isn't like when I mimic Willie McCallum's march playing style
Yeah.
because I love, like, that is an act of creativity. That's me identifying, like, oh, what's going on there is definitely something I want to try to replicate. So it's not nothing, but yes, at some point, we kind of want to be doing things that are maybe less derivative of others and more a reflection of what's really on our minds.
Yeah,
Could
that
be.
makes
I don't
sense.
know.
At
And
least
then,
be able to
I don't
turn it
know.
on and back
Yeah.
off again or something like that. Like, have it be an option to mimic others when we want to on purpose, not have that be the only way that we can get music out of the instrument, maybe is the goal.
Yeah.
I loved the next episode because I feel like it had been weeks that I'd been trying to get you to talk about the tone zone,
Oh,
and you
God.
finally went for it, and I still am convinced. I haven't taken the time to go back and look, but I'm still sure that the tone zone is something that you said on one of the earlier Dojo video lessons
Impossible.
that are, like, somewhere in the library still.
If I
Um,
said it, it would only have been insulting someone else.
but, yeah, as soon as I brought that up, you're like, "The tone zone," as if I'd come up with it, you know?
Tone zone. Unbelievable. I
But I
love the
do
thumbnail you picked for this episode, by the way.
mm,
You caught me in
yeah.
peak.
That's
You're clearly
it
trying to get me to
to admit
admit
to inventing the
yeah,
tone zone. But that one, I do remember that the point there was, like, basically like you use the archery metaphor in that episode, if I'm not remembering incorrectly, that it's not like you can just say, "Play tone good," you need to
yeah,
know what the target is if you're gonna try to
that's
hit
right.
the target.
It's funny, I was just chatting with Carl about this, on our internal messaging system because there was an error in one of the quizzes, and it was define what blowing tone means. Right?
Mm,
And really, we want the maximum possible richness and the minimum possible deviations in blowing pressure,
mm,
and those 2 things put together, for me, is what, blowing tone means. And by the way, that might need some refinement. I think you could get the words a little bit more dialed in there, but that's the basic idea. We wanna get the maximum possible richness and harmonic sound out of the reed, right? And so how do you do that? Well, you need a target, to your point, right? We need a target pressure because the Chanter reed has a range of possible pressures you could play. We're looking for that target, which is going to be at a very specific pressure.
mm,
By the way, fairly straightforward to find what that pressure is. And then once we've identified that pressure, our job is to blow steadily at that pressure at all times. Which,
mhm.
of course, there's a few asterisks there. There's a couple of those. You know how when you get a credit card agreement and after every sentence there's 7 miniature numbers and you have to go to the
Yeah.
bottom of the page to figure out, like, all the details? It's kinda like that, right? I mean, there's little caveats there. But yeah, we want to blow the sweetest possible tone as steadily as possible.
Mhm.
That's what good tone is. Yeah. That's the tone zone. When
That
you're
is the
there,
tone zone.
when you're at that pressure blowing steadily, you are in.
The
Dun, dun,
tone
dun, dun,
zone.
dun. There you go. I've said it now 3
Mhm.
times.
Well,
Episode
episode
61.
61. Yeah, let's
Yeah.
let 61 cleanse your palate. The
Are you
question
getting the
was,
most out of band practice?
yeah. And if I
I feel
remember
like
right,
this
this
was a
was,
popular episode, and it
yeah,
does have actually kind of above average view count here, but
yeah,
people kind of liked what I said about band practice. I feel like some people came up to me in the street, Jim.
yeah,
Whenever I leave the house, people are always swarming me
coming up
like,
to you in the street.
you're the
Yeah.
Bagpipe podcast guy." And a lot of people said they liked that episode and they shared it with people in their band and stuff. So, are you getting the most out of it? Episode 62, dialing into the 4 layers of drone reed sound. I'm not quite sure whose face you've superimposed on top of mine. Whose is that?
I don't know either. I
Just
think
says,
you
"Be
just were
like me."
saying something like everyone should be like me. And I thought that was funny. And I was like, there's
Yeah.
got to be some kind of graphic that, will play along with this.
I feel like when you first get started learning the pipes, especially, there can be a lot of confusion because when you blow a drone reed, it's like it doesn't just give you a beautiful tone right away. There's actually 4 different things that go on. And off the top of my head, right, at the very low pressure, the drone reed is kind of doing unpredictable, squeaky, not
Hmm.
really drone related type sounds, right? At a low pressure. This is with the reed in the drone. So if you apply just a little bit of pressure, it's going to go,
Hmm.
that's layer 1. It's
Yeah.
not useful sounds at all. Now,
Squeaky.
layer 2, right? Layer 2 is like it's like a subtone layer. So it is making a musical kind of sound, right?
Hmm.
It's making that kind of sound, but it's not really stable yet. And what a drone reed tends to do is it tends to click. And I don't know why. Once you reach a certain pressure, it'll go from that quasi-tone-ish kind of stage into a stable, harmonic, lovely. And it kind of goes ping,
Hmm.
and then you get that little ping thing, and then you're in layer 3. Layer 3 is the layer we want to be in when we're playing. When a beginner, sometimes you don't understand that, and you'll spend hours struggling to tune your drones, not realizing you're still in layer 2, and
Yeah.
that's not really a tunable layer. You're not going to be able
Hmm.
to do it. And we need to set up the drone reeds properly so that it allows us to get into layer 3. And layer 3 is where we want those drone reeds to function. And then layer 4, by the way, isn't really a layer at all. Layer 4 is when you blow too far past layer 3, and what happens?
No sound at all. Just
Yeah,
cut it
the
off.
pressure overwhelms the reeds
Yeah.
altogether, and the tongues clamp shut, and you get no sound, right? And understanding those 4 layers can be really useful, especially for a beginner, especially for a teacher who's trying to help a beginner, and so on. So that was a
Hmm.
cool episode.
Yeah.
By the way,
Squeaky, gurgly,
805
good
views on
sound.
that.
Yeah. Hey, maybe it's because we use the word gurgly. Maybe that's one of those hot buzzwords that Google is preferencing right now. Who knows?
Yeah, it could be. Next one, how to construct a winning medley. There you go.
I've got to assume that was a lot of you explaining that to me because I sure don't know how. I look back at some of the medleys that I built and I made some terrible decisions. So I was not the
Yeah,
authority figure there, that's for sure.
I think that was a good episode. I think we were talking about a couple different things. Was that the episode where we talked about it's important what matters to you, and then there's a couple of different audiences you have to satisfy when
Ah,
you're
that does
creating a
sound
medley?
familiar. Yeah, it
Remember,
was
like
like we built a Venn
there's 3
diagram.
audiences.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 3 audiences. There's the judges. And maybe I have this wrong, but there's the
No, I think you're right.
judges. There's the general audience standing around the band, and then probably the most important audience is you yourself and your bandmates and the people standing around in the band hall working on the medley. You have to enjoy the music that you're putting together, because if you don't, if all you're doing all the time is just trying to impress the judges and that's the only audience you care about, and you don't even care about your own enjoyment or playing of the material, ironically, it's probably going to show in the end result, and
Mm.
the judges aren't going to like it as much. So, yeah, you kind of have to balance the wants and needs of those 3 different audience types. It's funny because we were just at the Pocono workshop, and many of the members of the Inverary creative crew were there, and
Mm.
we were talking about medley stuff the whole time. And Inverary were really concerned about writing some music that we're going to enjoy working on for the whole year. And so there's always some fun ideas. And maybe they don't work out, but you usually start with that. And how much or how little it will impress the judges It's probably like of the three audiences, it's probably the least important. Not to say that it's not important, but it's probably the least important of the three.
And yet it's the one that looms so large in our minds, especially when we're playing.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah. Okay. There was a listener Q&A mailbag coming up. Tiny pipers, tunes onto the pipes, and finding a tutor in New Zealand. That was
Yes.
episode number 64. I'll let the listeners head over to that. Have you tried the set it and forget it method, episode 65? What's that?
If I remember right, that had to do with humidity. Play your pipes for a little bit before you start going crazy tuning them. Let them acclimatize a bit.
Yeah.
I think
Do
that
you
was the
struggle
idea there.
too soon?
Tune too soon.
Yep.
That's got to be Camille's work there. Trying to tune too soon. That's some good writing there.
Yep. Patience and bagpipe tuning. Yeah. Don't try and fine tune your pipes until things have had a chance to settle and acclimatize. Yeah. Episode 65. This looks like a clip from Something About Mary. Finding your perfect drone read setup, and then you pasted a picture of the guy from Something About Mary on the
Oh, well,
front
you
of the
know,
thumbnail.
we like to mix it up. That's because we were
Yeah.
talking about, I was curious about, speaking of somebody who might use the same set of drone reads for 20 years, that was me. And so I was trying to figure out, like, I'm going to get some new drone reads, and realizing that a lot of people have a specific bass drone read they like, and then they'll pair it with different tenor drone reads. And so I
Yep.
was trying to learn more about that. And actually, Andrew, funny that as a result of that conversation, here's my current set that I'm messing around with, Easy
What
Drone
do you got
tenors,
there?
and that's a Xavier
Oh, nice.
Bordeu Redwood bass drone.
Yep.
I have a full set of these in my other set of pipes, and I really like the sound. So I thought, well, it'd be fun to play with bass and a couple Easy Drone tenors. So
There it is.
yes, sir. So that's the mixing it up. We like to mix it up. Yeah.
So there's that. Episode 67. Has bagpipe pitch gone too high? The pitch is too damn high.
Yeah. Personally, I
remember
really enjoyed that conversation.
You
The
might
rent,
not remember this,
the rent
but
is too high.
there was a New York State gubernatorial race at one point, and there was the rent is too damn high guy.
Yep.
He got
Yep.
like 2%
Oh, I
of the
remember
vote.
him. Yeah.
Yeah, the pitch has gone too high. Okay, episode 67. That's just a classic discussion. Has bagpipe pitch gone too high? We don't have to rehash that now. The ultimate secret to being a better bagpiper or drummer. Conversations, episode 68.
I don't
was the
remember what the
ultimate
ultimate
secret?
secret was. I'm going to open this in another
I
tab.
kind of want to know. I kind of want to know at this point. Oh, you're stuck on a desert island. Would you rather have a practice chanter or an endless playlist of great pipe band tunes?
Oh, so the secret is immersion.
Yes.
That makes sense.
You are right, Jim. We've talked about that more recently as well. Episode
Yeah.
69, the
So
sticky
clever.
truth about Chanter tape.
So clever. My very favorite
Episode.
title ever. Was that Camille too? That's good. That might have even been you, Andrew. I think
Wow.
I can remember you saying that.
Wow, there you go. Episode 69, the sticky truth about Chanter tape. And we talked about Chanter
Amazing.
tape. 732 views. Interesting. By the way, has bagpipe pitch gone too high? 907 views. This is just on YouTube. I mean, we get millions more views.
Millions,
on
surely.
other platforms. Yeah, we're like so big on, what was it? Tumblr right now?
Tumblr.
Oh my God,
We're
so
huge
big
on Tumblr.
right
Yeah.
now. So big. Episode 70, play it like you sing it.
Yeah, that's right.
Episode 71, is bass drone tuning hard?
It is. I'm here to tell you it is. But after that conversation, Andrew, it has been easier for me. This was on my mind last night as I was tuning up a set of B flat bagpipes for a upcoming concert, and just being like, "There's the tenor. Oh man, the bass is. I can't find the bass." And then remembering, like, nope, I'm going to listen for some of those overtones, some of those secondary pitches, and I think I actually got it right into the spot. So that was
Nice.
some helpful advice.
Not bad. So that's why they pay me the medium-sized bucks right there.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I had a realization, which we're recording this a little bit before New Year's, but because this is a New Year's Eve episode, we're kind of in resolution territory. I had a realization recently, Jim, which is I think in the year 2024, I offended the fewest people of any of the years of my life.
All right.
Is that good?
Either that's good, or it's just a result of you having offended so many people that you've chased a lot of people away at this point.
Yeah, that could be. No, I feel like maybe not on purpose. I think I had it more under control. this year than any other. But then episode 72 is, of course, titled 10 Clues Your Pipe Major Sucks.
Yeah, then you lost it.
Well, basically, you insisted that we dig up this
Yeah.
offensive piece from the past and rehash it again.
Yeah.
But by far the most number of views of any episodes so far this year on YouTube.
Yeah.
So there you go. Maybe people liked the offensive nature.
I don't know if I've got to think that if I'm feeling a certain way, there are surely other people who feel this way too. But like for me personally, like what time I've spent as a pipe major in a couple of bands, the memory of it is just riddled with like guilt and mistakes and stuff. And so like it might be so popular because so many of
Yeah.
us are thinking, I suck as a pipe major. And so we see something like that. It's like, okay, please help me to not suck so much as a pipe major.
Yeah, could be. Anyway, the title is offensive, but the actual things in there are pretty common sense. So if you were worried that you're a crappy pipe major, check out that episode. Or how do you know if you're the problem or if it's the pipe major? Check out that episode. By the way, a lot of those can be flipped or modified to let you know whether you suck as a
Band
rank
member.
and file member.
Yeah.
Toning it down a bit, episode 73.
Yeah.
How to find your ideal chanter read strength.
Was that the one where we were talking about what the inches means when it comes to chanter read difficulty?
Yep, we might have been. Yes.
And I'd imagine that probably that Scotland the Brave test comes up in that conversation.
Oh, yeah, it does, Jim. Oh, yeah. Episode 74, Reddit Q&A. Hardest tune ever written, and much more.
Those were fun. Part of what's fun about those is that there's a reassurance for me, at least, that somebody's going to want to talk about this or hear about it because somebody already put it on the internet, you know? And that's reassuring, but also just, I guess in some ways it feels like taking a break. Do you feel that way, Andrew? It feels a little bit like, oh, well, let's see what the internet gives us and we'll talk about that, you know?
Exactly. It takes a little bit of the pressure off of us to come up with something great to talk about. So yeah, keep writing in.
Please. No, please.
Keep pontificating on bagpipe topics on Reddit. Okay, what if there were no bagpipes, episode 75?
This is when we made Andrew Douglas sad.
Why was I sad?
Because you were imagining if there were no bagpipes and therefore no Stuart Little in your life.
Yeah. The secret romance.
Yeah.
We went to visit Stuart briefly after the Worlds. His children and my children are now best of friends, and they're literal old school pen pals. It's very cute.
Oh, that's really fun.
Yeah. So I'm glad there are bagpipes in the world.
Yeah.
All right. Do you need to play tunes with all the embellishments?
Well, we came back to it here.
That one is, that's actually our shortest episode. It just, yes, is what I said.
That's the answer.
Was the end of the episode. Yeah. The next one, continuing on the theme, how to play embellishments like you mean it. Dojo Conversations, episode 77.
I don't remember what we talked about.
We're probably talking, I'm guessing we're talking about actually playing the embellishments by the steps. Do your embellishments enhance your playing or detract from it? Yeah. It appears to be a continuation of the previous topic.
Yeah, we're wearing the same clothes. That's a hint.
Yeah. And you have the same hair.
Also a hint.
Yeah. The secret to learning new tunes is
fun.
Having fun. I think that was a really good episode.
Really good for me. That's one of those episodes that stands out to me. Like so much of this, the dynamic here in this show, Andrew, is me learning from you. And so that was one of them where I'm like, I'm really glad I learned these, because there are a few times that things like this will come up that are so encouraging to me, right? One of them is the idea that immersion is really important because it's kind of easy to do and I like it, you know? And so it fills me with enthusiasm to do more of it. And the idea that like, I don't need to grind through learning a new tune. I can have fun learning a new tune.
And if you do have the feeling of grinding as you're doing bagpipe stuff, that should be an instant indicator that you're missing it. By the way, parenting is the same way, isn't it?
Yes. And the sad thing with parenting is instead of thinking like, oh, I could have learned that tune better, you know, I'll do better next time. It's like, oh, I've screwed up my child.
Yes. Sometimes you just all cranky and pissed off and too hard on your kids for days at a time. And you're like, wait, obviously this cannot be it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you got to lighten up, bro. Because I think at the very least, you want to teach your kids that having fun is the secret sauce.
Yes.
Because anyway, I mean, I should have stopped there, but what I was about to say, which I'm now about to say again, is because we're all going to be dead soon, Jim.
Ain't that the truth?
We should enjoy this. We should enjoy this experience and have fun. And we need to teach our kids to do the same thing.
Yep. And that's why
'Cause
every
they won't
morning I remind
they
them,
won't be
"You're
dead
gonna be
as
dead
soon as
soon."
us. Yeah, exactly. Little Timmy, you're probably gonna last longer than me, but not that much
Mm.
longer,
You know what,
so
Timmy? 80 years sounds like a long time right now, but let me tell you, it ain't.
Okay, on that note, what to expect at band and solo competitions.
Another
Another great
episode, Andrew,
episode, yeah.
for me, really useful because my competing experience is very small compared to yours, where you also have experience judging and stuff like that. Really useful for me. I enjoyed that conversation.
So check that out. It's just a great review of what's
Mhm.
going on in games. I think that's episode 79. Episode 80, the dangers of solo competing.
Those two actually go together nicely. I don't know if we planned that or if that's just the flow of conversation happening there, but
If you're interested in what the dangers could possibly be, check out episode 80. The Bagpiping AI Revolution, short episode. I don't think it's going to be here anytime soon, but
that
that's
was
episode
basically the
81.
conclusion.
It looks like you put a filter on this to make it even more orange.
Oh, I did. Yes. Yeah.
We both accidentally showed up in orange t-shirts. So it was Halloween in July
Yeah.
and Portent Parade Principles.
Which behind the scenes, just so everybody knows, that little bit of alliteration is 100% Andrew Douglas. Camille actually had a different title set up for that one. And Andrew was like, wait. What happened to Portent
Yeah.
Parade Principles?
Yeah,
So we got it
exactly.
fixed.
What is that? In case you were wondering if Camille is perfect, well, let me tell you, sometimes she misses the mark.
To be fair, her alternative title was probably also excellent, but
No. Nope. But maybe. But also Portent Parade Principles. Come on. That's
yeah,
episode
gotta go
82. Hey, how do you do a good parade?
hmm
Episode 82. And you might be thinking, what does Andrew Douglas know about parades? He was born with a silver bagpiping spoon in his mouth. That's not true. I've done more
your
parades
time.
than you. And
Parades
I've done
than all
more
you put
parades than you.
together.
And I've done more parades than you. I used to do a lot. No, that might not be true. That's not true, actually. There are some people listening who have certainly done more than me, but I've done a lot. Hundreds of parades. Okay. Enough to weigh in on a subject. Okay.
hmm
I'm saying this as if many people viewed that episode, which is not true. Not a popular topic.
And also as if everybody who viewed it was like, Andrew Douglas doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Well, it happens. It happens. I have
Yeah.
to disguise myself when I walk outside in Albany, New
Yeah.
York.
Mm.
All right. How to be a great piper on autopilot.
I
Wait,
love the
didn't
idea
we
of it.
already have an episode of this? Or
You
we
know,
were just
this-
talking about this?
Yeah. It sounds really similar to the freeing up bandwidth conversation. But hey,
Yep.
either it was a topic that deserved more conversation, or you and I are both old enough and our brains are malfunctioning sufficiently that we managed to have the same conversation twice and not realize it. One or the other.
Yeah. Or are we starting to discuss finding bagpipe freedom chapter by chapter? Have we already done that?
Oh, it was Bagpipe Freedom. You're right. This was where we were talking about a chapter in Finding Bagpipe Freedom there.
Gotcha. Okay. Episode 84, how to revive your stagnant tunes.
Mm. Fun strategy,
Yeah.
especially when you need to build a set for something, whether you're soloing or otherwise. You can dig back through the old catalog.
What did we say? How do you revive your stagnant tunes? I've got several.
Are you now going to the episode saying,
yeah.
give me some advice, Andrew, of the past? I'd like to
There's
do that.
Lord of the Rings, a Lord of the Rings analogy?
There should be a Lord of the Rings analogy in every single episode. Oh, you know what? I think I remember that actually, Andrew, because I think you were like, I think that you brought it up because you wanted to say something about how, like, once you've read The Lord of the Rings, that's great. And you should realize that there's even more books out there. But I threw it off because when you asked me, like, once you've read The Lord of the Rings, what do you do? And I was like, read them again. Because I'm that kind of person.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a listener question. Somebody had written
Yeah.
in and asked, how do you stop your tunes from becoming stagnant?
All right. Next episode, this would have been released right before I left for Scotland for the Worlds. A North American Piper's Guide to Visiting Scotland. If you're thinking about visiting Scotland,
Watch this episode first.
watch that
You'll
episode.
get all the advice.
Although there's a new update, which is now the UK requires I think it's called an ETA visa to go to Scotland.
What does ETA stand for in that case?
I don't know what it stands for, but I just had to do it because I'm going to Scotland. And it's no big deal. But you know the freakiest thing? It freaked me out is that my phone, I downloaded this app and in order to apply for the visa. It's the easiest way. And it was pretty easy. But there's this one step where you take out your passport and your phone scans the secret computer chip inside your passport to verify that it's a real passport.
Oh my.
It's crazy. I was like, wait, what? My phone can do that? Anyway, that's yet another thing you can do when you're going to Scotland that's just so much fun.
Mm.
And by the way, no one should stress about it. It's super easy. But yeah, that's a new update since we recorded that. I'm a big proponent that everyone should just get on a plane and go to Scotland. It's a great place. By the way, I caught up on a lot of Scottish history on that trip.
Just
You
reading
know,
books or going places like museums?
reading books. So I
Mm.
spent a long time in Scotland for that August trip. We brought the whole family over and we did a bunch of driving around and touring around and stuff. And so on my Kindle, I had a couple Scottish
Mm.
history books. So I read some Scottish history books, and then I also read that book, How the Scots Invented the Modern World, which was
Oh,
an incredible book.
I haven't read
So
it, but
cool.
I've heard of it for sure.
It just blew my mind. Maybe I was just in the right time and place in
Mm.
my life to read that book. But I've spent so much time in Glasgow and in Edinburgh over the years. And basically, the book is all about the Scottish Enlightenment and the effect that the different Enlightenment personalities had on the way the world works today, certainly the
Mm.
Western world. And it's bananas. It's
Mm.
bananas. Highly recommend. Next one, episode 86. More Reddit questions.
Yep, we had another, and this was like a collection of questions. We covered one person who genuinely felt very frustrated with their bagpipes. So it kind of started with kind of more of a serious question. It moved from there on to a discussion about bag covers and bag maintenance, some fun and lighthearted questions. What's going on with the pom-pom at the top of the Glengarry? And we ended by really foolishly thinking, I think we even didn't actually give advice for girls playing bagpipes, basically.
Oh, anatomical concerns.
Yeah, that women are built
Yeah.
different and can be a challenge. And well, we're obviously the ones to address that. Yeah.
I don't think we're going to answer that one.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That was episode 86. Look at all the stuff we talked about this year, Jim. Incredible.
Mm.
Episode 87, the intensity equation.
Oh yeah, that was when I injured my shoulder. I could hardly get dressed that morning because I couldn't. Yeah, I couldn't. And so then I was trying to take a drink from my mug and I couldn't get my arm to work. And we used that as a way to talk about like, yeah, sometimes you go too far.
How to free your pipe band.
Yeah, that's
Dojo Conversations 88.
near the conclusion of Finding Bagpipe Freedom, I believe, is where
Yep.
we're pulling that from.
Basically, all the concepts in Finding Bagpipe Freedom can absolutely be applied throughout your pipe band to great result. Episode 89. By the way, a sad number of views. I'm going to chalk it up to the time of year.
Nobody cares.
It's
The
like
story
right
of
at
the
the end
dojo.
of, like no one, but it was the story of the dojo.
How funny.
A great story.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get the view count up on that one. Episode 90, how to embrace failure. Yeah.
Seems like a good idea.
If you're not ready and able to invite some failure into your home, it's bagpipes was an ironic choice of instrument.
Yeah.
Pipers of the Caribbean, an insider's guide to a bagpiping cruise.
Was that the one where we did like a review of how the Alaskan cruise had gone, or were we just talking ahead to the Caribbean cruise?
Yep, we did both.
Ah.
Yeah, there's a famous shot of me leaning up against the wall while playing pipes on the cruise.
That's right, because you were talking about how laid back everything was, and I was like, "How
It was
funny."
laid
Like,
back, but
really.
also there were times where leaning on something as you were playing might have been in your best interest.
That
Boat was
makes sense.
moving, beverages may have been flowing, and yes, things were very laid back. Episode 92, finding the balance between perfect and fun.
Seems like good advice in general.
Yeah, always move towards fun. Solving some more of the world's piping problems, episode 93, more mailbags, which is good. We like those.
Please write in, please.
The formula to beat the pipe band struggle, episode 94. That was recent. I'm not remembering that quickly off the top of my mind.
I feel like maybe it had to do with the middle grades where you get the learners and then they move on. And so you end up with this anemic center.
Yes. And we were also talking about how the quality of the individual players in the band, unfortunately, is going to have a huge impact on how good your band is. There's no way around it.
Oh, yeah. Is that the one where the wisdom came up? It's in Finding Bagpipe Freedom. In order to improve your band, focus on individuals.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Or you have to have some sort of plan for developing the individuals or replacing individuals with better ones. There's only two ways to do it, or maybe there's another way, but it seems like there's only two. Anyway, moving on.
The best way to build stamina. That might have been kicked off by somebody writing about using a pencil in between their lips.
Oh, yeah. Sorry
And
to
you
that person. I think I came down kinda hard on
I
him.
think you did maybe get a little upset about that. I'm just kidding, man.
So that was cool. Yeah, and the best idea to build stamina is to just play a lot
Yeah,
and have
just
fun.
play.
If I had to remember, I was on a big fun kick there.
Mhm,
We got hot takes on Bagpipe Reddit questions again,
mhm.
episode 96.
Yep.
And then we have at best, our drummer's just different.
Yeah.
And I'm wearing some strange accoutrement in that
I
episode.
don't notice anything different from the usual episodes.
All right. What's weird is I didn't get any TikTok haters for that. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone even mentioned it.
Well, it wasn't a Black Watch flannel button-up, so
Yeah. So there's episode 97, 98, 11 simple habits to overhaul your piping.
that's where we started the conversation on the 11 commandments, is that right?
Yeah. Did we go through all 11 in a preview episode or what?
We might have run through them, or we might have just done the intro from the course, which itself kinda runs over them, I guess.
Yeah, kind of, but not really. Yes, exactly. We're in the middle of the 11 commandments now. The next episode was How to Write a Bagpipe Tune, episode 99, where we get together and we write the first ever podcast march.
Personally, I really enjoyed that exercise, and I did get one person, uh, Alvin,
Said in the second part.
yep, wrote us the second
Yep.
part and sent it in. So if anybody else still wants to, go back to that episode, pick up where we left off.
And then the next episode, 100, Jim, this is called the Jim episode,
Yeah, it's all for
where
me.
to celebrate 100 episodes of Jim not getting to decide what we talk about, I finally let you decide.
So we didn't only talk about circular breathing, we also talked about vibrato,
Yeah.
which I've been bringing that up literally since we first started doing these episodes together, and so
You know, I remember hurtling through the night reviewing that episode. It was like 1 AM or something.
oh, yeah.
I was teaching a bagpipe workshop, and then was I maybe driving through to the Pocono workshop? That's what I remember that episode.
Mhm.
Like, please God, let me make it alive. I think it was like bad weather, and I did make it. It was no problem. But that's what I remember from that episode 100. There you go.
Yeah. And then the power of immersion for 101, that is definitely getting into the 11 commandments. That is commandment number 1.
Yes.
Thou shalt immerse thyself.
Ed's follow up,
Mhm.
Secrets of Ensemble Judges, episode 102.
I loved that one, just being a fly on the wall and listening to a couple judges talking about what it means to be an ensemble judge versus piping versus drumming and what you're looking for and what you're not looking for and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, that was a cool peek behind the curtain.
I think the most interesting thing there, especially with the concept of ensemble, is no one really knows for sure what it is. And so everybody's take on it is a little bit different. But I think
Mhm.
you can kind of get to the bottom of what it definitely isn't. And you can get to the bottom of generally what you're trying to do. Yeah, that was pretty fun.
Mhm.
Ed's a super experienced judge as well. So it's
Mhm.
always fun to chat. And then the last episode released before we are chatting today
Mhm.
was 103, Daily Action. How often should you brush your teeth?
Every day, please.
Well,
Rather
you do
than
it every day. I just do it extra on the weekends.
Yeah, 4 hours of toothbrushing in one go on the weekend.
Which of course isn't true. That would be pretty gross.
Yeah, but I
Um,
can tell you, I'm looking at our board for edits on the side here, and I can tell you the others we'll have coming up is recording bagpipes. That's a conversation we had that's in the edit right now that'll have come
oh
out by
yeah.
the time this one I think will have come out. Either will have come out or this is a little sneak peek at what's coming.
Yeah.
Commandment 3 in the 11 commandments is using simple tools, and whether or not it's worth it to have a second set of pipes is also something in the
Yeah.
works. And
Yeah.
if it is worth it, then how to do it and things like that.
And maybe an opportunity cost discussion.
Mhm.
Well, the next episode will happen in the new year. So,
Yeah.
happy 2025, Jim.
And to you, Andrew Douglas, and to you.
Congrats to like 100 or so episodes. We are now an institution in the piping world.
Wild.
By the way, I get the question, who is Jim? So often.
Literally nobody, and that was the idea, huh? Let's get a normie in
No.
here. Get a normie in here to talk with Andrew Douglas, and that's
You're anything but normal, Jim.
fair.
By the way, my computer's pretty warm. The old computer's struggling these days. Almost every episode so far has been recorded on this beauty.
Yeah.
I seem to remember an episode with Dan Nevins where I was on my home computer because I literally
yeah.
forgot.
Well, I had been emailing the wrong email account the whole time setting it
Yeah.
up, and so I think I was in the call with Dan Nevins, and I was like, "Andrew, you coming?" And you're like, "What?" And I was like, "We're ready."
And then I was like, son of a. So we had to make it work. More guests. We're going to do more guests in 2025, Jim.
Yeah, that'll be good. It'll be fun.
The problem is with the guests, it just requires more work, doesn't it?
That's the hard part. Yeah. But, worth it. When you get good
Definitely
guests
worth it.
like Ed Best and Dan Nevins, it's worth it.
It's worth it. Speaking of worth it, Jim, what a guy you are.
Ah, shucks, come on.
Happy New Year. Thanks for everything, buddy.
No, thank you, Andrew, and Happy New Year to you.
No, Jim, thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you.
No, Jim, no, you hang up. No,
Yeah.
no, you hang up.
This is how we're going to end the episode. It's just going to fade out on us doing the back and forth.
Hey everybody, Andrew Douglas here from the Piper's Dojo, and I just want to say thanks so much for listening to today's iteration of the podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard here today, it would be super helpful to us and to a lot of bagpipers out there trying to find us. If you could give us a top-notch review on whatever platform you're using to listen to this podcast, particularly Apple, iTunes, and Spotify and things like that, your review would be really, really helpful. So if you have a moment today, definitely go over there and help us out. Other than that, until we meet again on the podcast or somewhere else, thanks again for listening.